The year is 2020. Breach has been banned, yet some fools still play it in leagues. It's our job to purge them and to go on the last Curse-ade and get rid of the remaining Breach players in the leagues. Hey everyone, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for another ridiculous stream. This one brought to you by Curse-ade, who has appeared magically in chat, and who sent me an updated deck list today. So in case you have been living under a rock and you haven't been checking Twitter or Reddit or all of those things today, Underworld Breach did indeed get banned today. However, the changes don't go into effect on Magic Online till tomorrow. So I bumped the Curses deck to the top of the queue because it's really meant to be played in this Breach metagame as like this Chalice, Leyline, Karn deck. This is really when we do want to go and like play with this sort of deck. Chalice, Trinosphere, Karn, Leyline. We have a lot of tools to fight against Breach. We've made some changes to the deck list since last time around. Curse-ade has been experimenting with it. We've sent a few ideas back and forth. But one of the things we were concerned about initially was that we didn't have any answers to stuff our opponents did that mattered. So I was worried that we were just going to die. Murderous Rider seems like a great way to combat that. So it can destroy a creature or planeswalker for the low cost of 3 mana and 2 life, and then it can also just be a 2/3 lifelinker. And honestly, that's not that bad, right? Like, by Legacy standards, a lot of times if you put a lifelinker into play while you're doing something else, you can buy yourself a pretty good amount of time. Notably, though, something we were concerned about is that this is a black-black card. So if you look at the mana base, we do have a number of colorless cards, especially the soul lands. So we may not be casting this on turn 2 or turn 3 consistently. So just like throwing that out there. The other thing that's new to this deck is Treacherous Blessing, which I'm pretty skeptical is good, but I'm willing to give it a go. So this is one you probably have to read. It enters the battlefield and you draw 3 cards. Whenever you cast a spell, you lose a life, and if this becomes the target of a spell or ability, sacrifice it. So I'm pretty convinced that we have too much life loss in this deck with, like, Ancient Tomb for this to be good, but I'm willing to give it a go. Notably, this is pretty sketchy in multiples. Like, cast a spell, lose 2 life, I don't know how I feel about that. But last time around, we didn't really have any card draw, so some degree of card draw that plays well with Ancient Tomb is certainly worth considering. And if we end the game after casting Treacherous Blessing by just casting a spell or 2, things are fine. The sideboard has copies of Through the Slaughter, again, as more answers to problematic things our opponent is doing, like, I don't know, Oko. As well as a couple other weird new things. There's a couple copies of Oppression here. Whenever a player casts a spell, that player discards a card. So that could be pretty interesting. Again, don't know if good, but, you know, when you're playing mono black curses, we gotta meme at least a little bit. Excuse me. One other thing that's a new addition is we're trying out a Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. Because we have Leyline of the Void, and now like Murderous Rider as well, there might be some times where Nykthos ends up producing a silly amount of mana, like if you happen to have a double Leyline opener. This can get silly pretty quickly. With that being said, let's go ahead and hop into a league and see how it fares. Rogue Judge, that was one of the things that I was going to sort of talk about in between rounds as we're queuing for things. JK, I need to open up a couple chests real quick. That'll do. Curse-ade. Had a rough couple of O5 streams in the past week and a half, in playing some things that could not beat Breach. Well, long story short, I'm happy with the ban. I thought it was going to take longer to happen, but I was pretty sure that it was going to happen. Yes, I will keep this. Any black card means turn 1 Trinisphere into turn 2 Karn. Very happy with that. So, Breach is obviously a pretty busted Magic card. Trinisphere will probably be very good against what my opponent is doing if they're playing Bobble. We might be looking at some sort of blue Urza deck. I don't think my opponent is going to be playing Wasteland after that opener, so I'm just going to play Ancient Doom and pass. Excuse me. Yep, the Emery the good old-fashioned way. Just artifact lands and Bobble in there right now, so that's good. Alright, now I get to make the decision of, do I want to play a Trinisphere this game, or do I just want to play Karn the Great Creator? I think the Trinisphere is probably good in all likelihood. So this will let me go Trinisphere this turn off Swamp, Karn next turn off Swamp, and then potentially just Lattice immediately on turn 4. Which I think I'm good with. This also very, very much slows my opponent down. I'm slightly punished by Island Urza. Oh, okay, so they can't actually get the Seat of the Synod out of the graveyard. I wonder if they were supposed to leave that around and just turn it into an Elk next turn. I need to check something real quick. Yes, I do have a Sorcerer's Spyglass for Oko. I also just have Mycosynth Lattice. I'm still going to attack the Oko here. Okay, that is what it is. But we can do another one next turn. And immediately get Sorcerer's Spyglass and play it. Hey, welcome, Basic Swamps. So now that the game is maybe slowing down a bit, now opponent is casting things. Chalice on 0, sure. Yeah, D&T content will return normally. I'm sure we'll start seeing donations for it again. So before I play this Karn, I might actually want to force this trade with Chalice of the Void by attacking Oko. It helps to protect my Karn better. And I'm going to play this Karn without playing my next land because I don't expect soft counter magic like Daze or Spell Pierce from this deck. Nice. Bayou Seat of the Synod. I'm going to name Oko. So we have shut off Oko, and we've shut off this like bobble cycling now. We don't have an immediate win in that nice cards. In that my opponent can attack this Karn down, and then I just can't go for Lattice immediately. Are we cursing? Are we cursing without playing a land? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, potentially 7 mana. I can't curse and Trinisphere. I don't think I want to give up this city. We're playing curses. I have no worries in a ThrabenU service. I don't see how anything can possibly go wrong on any of my turns, really. Arglypuff, you make a compelling argument. That one's kind of funny. I'm not going to get cute with it. Let's just take the Overwhelming Splendor now. One, two, three, four, five, six. Only 7 mana. I think I can just, like, play a Trinisphere, pass the turn, call that good. Although, honestly, I should probably just plus on this Trinisphere. Because that defends the Karn that is currently in play. And now I get to make the choice of, like, oh, no, I don't get to make the choice. Alright, so we are playing against okopile.deck. Well, we already have the Oko shut off, so I'm not too worried about that side of the equation. So, more answers to Oko seems good. I'll bring in 3 copies of Through the Slaughter. I probably won't be touching my artifact board here. And I don't really know that this is the Plague Engineer matchup of choice. Chalice on 0 is sort of interesting against my opponent, but it's not great against opposing Karns, which may be in there. Defense grid is kind of medium. My opponent's going to have some counter magic, but I don't know that I want to rely on this. Cut Knight's Betrayal? I mean, Curse of Death's Hold? No, I don't think I'm in an oppression. I think my chalices are way worse on the draw. Because, like, I'd be putting them on 0. They still technically do things, but if my opponent can, like, slam all their bauble and artifact mana in their opening hand first before I do that, I don't know that I need all of these. Like, if I lose this game and we go to a game 3, I'll probably board 2 chalices back in over something else. Like, maybe Treacherous Blessing. So this has 2 answers to an Oko or early creature, and a card draw spell, and 1 dead card. Is this hand bad? I legitimately do not know. I feel like I should probably mulligan this one. But I think it's close. Like, it's already kind of a mulligan. And I'm not doing anything proactive. I think I'm going to ship this. Alright, speaking of weird hands. How do we feel about the Double Dark Ritual Treacherous Blessing opener? This probably isn't a mulligan. I think I keep and pitch 1 Dark Ritual. This can't be good, right? What do you mean don't do it? We put it in the deck. We're doing it. Yeah, turn 1, draw 3, turn 2, Trinisphere, and helm them out. What could possibly go wrong? Nothing, right? Nothing? Yeah, Sai seems scary. So we really needed this Trinisphere down. To the Slaughter, very bad against Sai. So I feel like we could be okay against Thopters, but Sai is going to bury us if I don't draw like Murderous Rider or some way to actually win the game. Leyline is probably the best draw. Do we have Damnation in this deck? I suppose if we're going on a Curse-ade, we can't have Damnation, right? Is Damnation like a pro-Erebos thing? Curse of Misfortunes, you say? Don't mind if I do. And just like that, we're back in the game. So we give them the -1/-1 curse, wipe most of the board, and then go from there. We don't technically need to cast another spell this game to win. Supposed to run around screaming like Erebos Wolf now. Time Walk from my opponent would be pretty strong here. Just talking about their outs. Thopter Foundry's in there, so that's cool. Be a real shame if something happened to all your critters, though. Boop! So do I actually cast this Leyline? I legitimately do not know that I need to cast any other spells this game. Every spell that I cast is 1 life. And I think I'm just winning by getting Overwhelming Splendor next turn, followed by the Planeswalker thing. But before I have Overwhelming Splendor, I have like Oko turning things into Elks to worry about. I don't think I'm supposed to cast any other spells this game. Well, To the Slaughter wouldn't nab an Oko if I cast it. It would nab Psy or Emery instead. I don't have Delirium right now. So opponent can still activate Oko abilities. So now we can do the Slaughter. Actually, hold on. Do I need to cast To the Slaughter? So all the Oko things are now dead, right? Or no, they're not dead. So opponent can plus on their things, and then it ignores this. So they have 2/2s. So I do need to cast To the Slaughter. Okay. Cool stuff. So now Cruel Reality just kills our opponent over a couple of turns. They get 3 turns. Okay. And what sort of artifact do you get that gets you out of this? A Walking Ballista. That's actually interesting. So Walking Ballista is going to be a creature that survives. Because it's going to have counters. So I can kill their Karn now. Okay. Yeah, so I just kill their Karn now. They lose 5. They can cast a Walking Ballista for X equals 1, have a 1/1, and I still end up living through it. All right, there we go. Yep, we solved the puzzle. Seeing as this hand has 2 of our payoff curses in it, And the first thing we can do is Treacherous Blessing. This one's a pretty easy mulligan. This I will keep. We'll pitch the Mox from this hand. We are just going to play a turn 2 Karn, and then a Treacherous Blessing sometime later. The Karn actually could be very relevant in this matchup. Like, we're just going to get Liquid Metal Coating and go to town. Fair. But there's a problem with your plan opponent, in that I can just plus the Karn on that. It, like, buys you a little bit of time, but it doesn't actually stop what you want it to stop. Oh, hold on, what's the rest of my turn? So I have 2, followed by 3 mana. I could just Treacherous Blessing, draw a whole bunch of cards. My life total's not super relevant. And I can hardcast a Murderous Rider to get some of my life back. Yeah, I'm good with that. Rishadan Port, go, go, go! Nice. We just take down this match here, or this game here, and we didn't show our opponent that many cards. So I know what they're up to, but they don't know what I'm up to. Baron Bounty and Von Volkvan, thank you very much for following. I hope you are enjoying the Curse-ade here. Alright, what do we have for 12 post? Honestly, the game 1 deck seems okay. So Chalice and Defense Grid are probably kind of whatever, but most of the rest of the stuff that I have going on here is, like, probably okay. Baron Bounty, they had a Chalice at 2 that I had to blow up first. To the Slaughter as additional answers to large creatures or planeswalkers is probably good. So I think Defense Grid and Chalice will go out for those. Then I don't know what to do with this last Chalice. Like, I need this in the board. I could consider just boarding that in. I'm thinking about Oppression or just boarding in a Helm. Because Helm will frequently just get me a big fatty out of my opponent's deck. So I think I'm okay losing access to a Helm in the sideboard to just play another one. Hold up, I can't count. So I boarded out 5 and I boarded in 4. I don't know. Like, I don't think oppression is going to be good because I'm going to be holding these answers to planeswalkers and creatures. So I think I'm just going to fill out the deck with the Plague Engineer. It's a black card that I can pitch to Chrome Mox, or it can trade with a smaller Eldrazi if that's something that needs to occur. There's absolutely no way I can mulligan this, right? It's just turn 1, Curse of Misfortune, just Chrome Mox, imprint something, play, writ, and then either Curse or Karn. There's no way that this goes back. Hold up. Hold up. Hold up. Do we have any math wizards here? Because I think we're looking at something amazing. That is a turn 1 win with curses. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. Red Hot, I think your math is off. See, we've only played 4 matches, and we did it in one of our... Sorry, 4 games, and we did it in one of our 4 games. So math says that it's 25% chance to happen, right? That's how math works? So, hopefully we'll just do that again before the stream's over, right? Right? I don't believe that just happened. Yeah, by that math, best deck in the format. We've driven away the Breach. That's why Breach is gone. It's because we went on a Curse-ade. Yeah, that was beautiful. Like, I was happy when we were going to turn 1 Curse of Misfortune. Like, that was amazing, but turn 1, like, actual factual win. Just, wow. Curses for the win. This has got to be a keep. So, like, oh. Did you have 6 your turn, or are you putting a Grizzlebrand in the graveyard? They F6 their turn. Yep. Yep. All right. 5-0 in games so far. Curses is great. All right. Does our opponent have recent finishes? Morning. I think I have to do an underscore. Palace. Can I do a space? Morning space palace. Last seen in 2018 with Grixis Delver. We've gone up to 40% chance for turn 1 wins. So strong. I don't know that I want to sideboard too much before knowing what's actually up. But I think I'm going to do something that's very safe. I'm going to board out the Treacherous Blessings and the Defense Grid for Plague Engineers and a To the Slaughter. If my opponent is playing any sort of creature deck, I'll feel good about this. If they're not, I have not altered the core of my deck at all, and I feel okay about this situation. If opponent didn't want to discard a single card, what will they do with Oppression in play? Opponent has mulliganed. I have a turn 1 Trinosphere. We're keeping. They have no idea what's coming. Get them. Well, against Preordained, turn 1 Trinosphere is probably still pretty hot. I like it. We did draw our Cruel Reality in this opener, which is not the greatest, but, you know, it is what it is. Opponent's over there going, wait, what? Force pitch a Brainstorm there. Haha. Nice Magic card. We're on a 20-turn clock. I think this turn is pretty interesting. I'm not entirely sure that I'm supposed to do anything other than just uptick. I think I'm just going to keep my Karn's loyalty high before my opponent has more creatures. It's really only punishing if my opponent has Brazen Borrower here, I guess. Yep. So my opponent will put another creature into play, then wasteland me, and lose the ability to cast spells in all likelihood. And then I'm just going to need like a soul land to be in a pretty good position, but I need it quickly. That's rough. Oh my god, is it another Brazen Borrower? Okay, I was gonna say. So if I minus on the Karn, there's a lot of situations where a single counterspell or a single lightning bolt ends up being pretty costly for me. It needs bobs, eh? I believe I am now on 0 outs because I take 4 this turn, and then even if I draw a removal spell for one of these, it's not good enough. I mean, I played into a line that was soft to Brazen Borrower, so I guess that's on me. I will want the other 2 removal spells now that I have confirmed that they are Delver. I'm not sure what I'm supposed to board out. I can trim on the Karns since the Karns don't immediately impact the board. The Karns do get Bridge, though. Although Bridge is slightly awkward with some of the things that I can have in this deck. Like, it's very possible I'm just supposed to bring this in. Bring the defense grid in. Over all of the Karns. No, I think we're looking to drag this game on for a long time. Because we have Engineer to the Slaughter, Murderous Rider, more to the Slaughter. Plus a pretty good endgame. The other thing I can do is just, like, keep the Karn package and trim on some of my Trinispheres. I don't hate trimming Trinispheres. Like, I think they're good. Maybe I just don't have enough win conditions if I don't play the Karns. My Karns will be a little worse without the Helm there. Obviously don't have matchup experience here. I will keep this hand. I'm going to have to think about how I play it out, though. Like, I don't know that I'm supposed to play out the City of Traders super early. I think I'm just going to play Swamp Go. Rather than play towards the turn 2 Karn. Alright, we have traded for Force, pitching Force. It's okay, we can potentially either resolve Karn or To the Slaughter next turn. That answers a Delver, not 2 Delvers. So I kind of feel like I'm playing towards Ensnaring Bridge in the long game here. No Delver flip. And so they'll take a new card there. Makes sense. I would love to draw Urborg so I can stop taking damage from Ancient Tunes. That'd be pretty cool. Oh, that is the 3rd Force of Will. That's a little rough. At least that Delver isn't flipping. I'm still at 12, though. And losing that hurts quite a bit. Never mind. So my opponent has pitched 1 Brazen Borrower. That's rude. What do they flip to? Brainstorm. Oh god, that's such a good draw. To be honest, I'm not sure if they're supposed to attack me or Karn. It kind of feels like me. Yeah. Alright, so I need a removal spell for Delver here. That is not going to do it. It kills me if I cast that. I'm super punished for boarding in the other helm. And this doesn't produce mana before anyone asks. See? No mana. Womp womp. Alright. This is a close but no cigar sort of scenario. That's super unfortunate. Our opponent had 3 Force of Wills plus a Braid. I think we lose to that most of the time anyway. Although really, the double wastelands were probably the thing that hurt me the most this game, because it meant that I had to keep tapping the ancient tombs. And if my opponent didn't have double wasteland, then maybe I get to like helm or not helm instead. I get to lattice instead, and maybe that buys me more time. Prevents like the bridge from getting answered or something like that. You know, there's a lot of worlds where we win that one. Good luck, have fun. You too. I think I keep this hand. It's not doing anything explosive, but turn 2 Chalice is still pretty darn good against a lot of the things in the format. If we draw a Soul Land or a Mox, we get an early Karn, which I think is good. And we can use Treacherous Blessing as a bridge to Curse of Misfortunes. We are 2-1 currently. Would love a Soul Land to shut off this Ether Vial before it can get into play and do a lot of damage to me. Athalia from my opponent is very good here. What? I'm an F6 Chalice deck. You don't need to play your stuff in the second main phase to be cute. So this happens. I don't know if I can cast his Treacherous Blessing. Like, I'm going to take a lot of damage off this card over the course of this game. And we did not spike a land after playing that. That's super rough. So I need to get this Curse of Misfortunes into play ASAP. Yeah, so we have drawn 4 cards and gotten nothing from it. So I can't cast Swift End, as it is an instant. But I can just cast a 3-mana 2/3. It is not ideal, but it may tie up some of my opponent's mana. What? What? It says first strike. I don't have first strike. This is first strike. this is a really good card. And opponent, what are you doing with your life over there? At least I have some very important information. My opponent is not good. So, like, they've ticked their vial up to 4 for Palace Jailer, which is going to be a 1 of. They have made some very questionable sequencing things. They've missed out on 4 points of damage. Like, that is real information that I can take into the next game. No, they've missed 2 Thalia attacks. Probably 3 here. Yep. Right. That's what caused the initial missing of damage. All right. We're very dead. That's super frustrating. All right. We were not winning that game no matter what. All right. What do we have for the D&T matchup? Slash, what do I not want? I don't want Defense Grid, and Chalice and Trinisphere are pretty questionable as well. I do want Plague Engineer and To the Slaughter. And then I'm going to need to keep some of this stuff. I will probably just board in Sorcerer Spyglass, because Karn already shuts off a bunch of their artifacts if I put a Karn into play. But that will mean I need to keep 2 Trinispheres or Chalice. First strike. You put Thalia on the Jitte instead of equipping it to the Remorseful Cleric. You attack in. If I block with the Rider, you do 2 first strike damage, then remove a Jitte counter. This is the kind of match it's gonna be, right? This hand's really bad too. I don't know that this wins. Like, I'm soft to Thalia, I'm soft to Wasteland, I'm soft to Port, I'm soft to Vial. I think I pitched this. I will keep this. And from here I have choices. This helm is going back. I think I'm going turn 2 Karn. And keeping the Plague Engineer as follow-up. Oh wow, my opponent has gone down to 5. So one of Karn or Plague Engineer should be pretty silly. I'm still going to go ahead and take the Karn this turn. And we're just going to threaten coding, blowing up all of their lands. Hey, hey, welcome. I'm glad you can catch me live. This stream has been pretty ridiculous so far. So I don't really want to put this Plague Engineer on Horror. But it can't be that wrong, too. Aw. Darn you, Internet. Alright, Mirror Crusader's pretty sweet. Man, I really want one more mana. One more mana is so good. But I don't think I want to, like, try to Treacherous Blessing and high roll into another artifact land. I think that's so risky. Batterskull does not seem particularly good on the current board. Like, it's going to trade with Plague Engineer, and then Karn is going to make it so you can't re-equip it. So you have to, like, use 5 mana to redeploy. And then, like, I also have Ensnaring Bridge that you're going to have to worry about. While I'm sinkholing you every turn? So all of this was known information. Like, the Ensnaring Bridge, the Plague Engineer, the Karn, all of this stuff was known. Yo. Land is sweet. So this line that my opponent's playing towards makes sense if they have Flicker Wisp, I guess? I agree with the Treacherous Blessing. Oh man, opponent. You're gonna have a bad time. I'm gonna enchant you. So my opponent can now attack with this Germ. I'm okay with that. Because my Karn doesn't die, and then I can deal with it later. I can also just plus on this and then Rishadenport them to, like, quote-unquote kill the Germ. But I think I can, like, let them attack with it safely. Maybe this is good. Oh, neat. So, due to layers, this didn't actually shrink to a 3/3 like I thought it was going to. Whoops. I thought I was still going to take a bunch of Karn damage in that. I don't think I'm going to change anything about how I sideboarded. I think I can do better than just a Plague Engineer hand. This hand's good. Oh, yeah, I totally derped, right? Okay. It did shrink it, right? Batterskull has 5 CMC. So 5 minus 1 is 4. Just did a dumb there. Basic math while streaming. Confirmed hard. Punished! Sort of fireman's, sure. And we would just have to kill this turn. List is performing well. We've definitely got some stream highlights from earlier today. That's for sure. Putting the bridge in play does nothing until I have more of the cards out of my hand. Now, I don't know that I want to turn it into a 3/3. That's interesting. I'm not sure if playing bridge and then animating bridge is better than just, like, to the slaughtering and presumably getting rid of the Mother of Runes. And then just plussing. The thing is that I can to the slaughter in my upkeep next turn, whereas I can't ensnaring bridge in my upkeep. And, like, I have 1 bridge this whole game. The bridge line is high upside. The 3/3 line is cool. Yeah, my opponent saw Plague Engineer, so, like, I expect Swords to Plowshares to be in my opponent's deck. Yeah. I do love that my opponent is not pressuring the Karn with Mother of Runes as well. Alright, opponent, you don't wait till the draw step to do that, because it gives me more opportunities to cast these cards. Actually, I don't need to take life loss for this. I don't need to play around Mana Tithe. Wow, okay. Just a little surprised. Like, if my opponent just continues to hold this bomb back and doesn't keep pressuring the Karn, I don't know that they're going to pull ahead meaningfully. If I'm willing to minus now, I can get Liquid Metal Coating out of the board, and I can play that through Port next turn. Yeah, Vault of Whispers is the black artifact land. Council's Judgment, the Karn's pretty good, but I got multiple cards out of that Karn. This isn't actually GG, but if my opponent doesn't remove this, it should be effectively GG. No, we're not going to play this. We will do that once we have seen what my opponent already has, but I don't want to play into, like, removal spells off of Vial or things of that nature with my opponent still having a bunch of cards in hand. I also believe that my opponent should have ticked that Vial up to 3, so they can potentially protect this with Flicker Wisp. Yeah, I'm probably going to go to their upkeep and then Murderous Rider, Leon and Relic Warder in their upkeep. I don't think I can risk letting them put the Vial up to 3, though. Just, like, idiot check. This is a instant, right? Yeah. So they need, like, Council's Judgment or Flicker Wisp here for this. Yeah, that's fine. So my opponent doesn't have Flicker Wisp. It's very possible... Okay, so if I get Overwhelming Splendor right here, it makes Phyrexian Revoker lose all of its abilities, which I think just turns it into a 1/1, and it also stops the Vial. No, 3/3 still. Layers are hard, man. So this has shut off Vial. This has shut off a Sword Re-equip. I think I'm just supposed to cast this rather than Spyglass. They don't really have things to Spyglass. I would just be peeking at their hand. Well, Cruel Reality gets weird if they have another creature. Okay, so this does not cause them to lose the sword ability. So they're going to lose this creature on their turn unless they have, like, Containment Priest. I think I just have a win next turn with Helm. So I'll just cast Leyline here, Helm next turn. So opponent can't equip the sword. And then this is going to happen. Nice. GG's. GG's. Video will be on ThrabenU on YouTube later. Feel free to check it out. So just like that, we're 3-1, and I do feel like we were kind of unlucky to lose the one that we did lose to Delver. So, like, deck is definitely doing well. Sort of like, I sent messages back and forth with Reaplecheap about the deck list, and I was super, super skeptical about the Treacherous Blessings. And that is still my opinion. I don't think this card is good enough. But a lot of the other small changes to the deck have definitely been pretty good. We haven't gotten a Nykthos or Castle Locthwain activation yet. But I definitely like having access to Murderous Rider, to the Slaughter, Plague Engineer, those sorts of things. Murderous Rider has been pretty good. Innistrad Revenue Service, I accidentally uploaded the Tuesday video earlier today, so I released both the Monday and Tuesday video rather than removing the Tuesday one. Yeah, the turn 1 kill from earlier today was sweet. Yeah, the ability to actually remove cards is awesome. So, like, one of the last times that I played this deck list, we were doing powerful things, but if my opponents played a Delver, I was like, uh-oh, I am clocked. There's not much that I can do. Open with Leyline, Land, Double Dark Ritual, and Helm. Or I think we opened with a Mox instead. Yes? Are we actually going to get to play against Breach? Are we actually going to get to go on the Curse-ade against Breach? By the way, this stream is going super quickly, so after this round and after we do the debrief for the deck, I'm going to keep streaming for a little while, and we're going to talk about Breach, because I keep trying to have these Breach conversations, but it's really hard to like have Breach conversations and keep like the game going. So we'll talk about that in just a minute. If I had a black card, I'd go for a turn 1 Chalice, obviously, but I don't. Has my opponent been playing Breach? Because if my opponent has been playing Breach, it might just be correct to play this on 0, even though I have the Chrome Mox. No, my opponent has been playing Blue-Red Delver, so it is not correct to do that. Land, go. Innistrad Revenue Service, yes, but I will break it into a different VOD for YouTube purposes. This is Nykthos, Shrine to Nyx. You can pay 2, choose a color, add mana equal to your devotion to that color. So I think I like casting Chrome Mox, imprinting the Dark Ritual, and then playing Chalice on 1 around a day's effect. I know that's kind of weird, and it's not the most aggressive thing that I could do this turn, but I quite like it. Like, I'm not playing this Karn for a little while. What is going on over there? Oh, that's what's going on. So I can Karn minus get Sorcerer Spyglass for Oko, lose my Karn. And then shut off Oko, and they have a 3/3 Elk to my empty board. I can also just play Karn, not minus this turn, animate the food, Prevent them from elking. That I like. I think I'll do it off of Nykthos and play into a potential Daze. I think this land to get me to my 6th mana is really important. Rats. Alright, life is now terrifying for us. My opponent has an unchecked Oko, and I have no gas remaining. Future top-decked Karns are specifically worse. My curse stuff is still pretty good. I'm not going to play out this land here. It doesn't really do anything. You recommend drawing Helm. That seems like a really good line. What is this? It's a lot of mana. Hymn to Turok. Well, that's something that punishes me for playing that. Not playing that, more accurately. So I guess I play out this land. And in which case, that draw makes it so this wasn't a punish at all. But now I'm taking 6 this turn. Let's draw Helm. And my opponent not have Force of Will. I get 1 more draw for Helm. I don't think Karn for Bridge is good enough, because Oko is a strong magic card. My way. My way. Never luck. Never luck. Alright, so we have To the Slaughter to answer Oko. I will leave Sorcerer Spyglass in the board for Oko so that I effectively have more copies of it. Chalice of the Void is probably not particularly good against my opponent. Like, it's going to do things, but against bug decks, and I'm going to categorize this one as a, quote, bug deck, a lot of times you don't actually get the chance to shut them off of Chalice because they just answer it with something like Abrupt Decay or Assassin's Trophy, so like Chalice Unwanting doesn't necessarily just win you the game. But my opponent just appears to essentially just be like check pile with Oko. Question, have you ever sided in Oppression this league? No. I have not. I don't think Oppression is good. So that is probably part of the reason why I haven't sided it in. Plague Engineer is also probably okay as something that can shut off Icefang Coatls and Snapcaster Mage. So if we played against a combo deck, I would board in Oppression. But, like, when your opponent plays Oko, like, your Oppression doesn't matter, right? We've mostly been playing against fair stuff so far. This is not really the side of the deck I'm hoping for. I don't have black to cast this. Alright, I don't know what this does, but it's good. So I keep this, I put back Overwhelming Splendor. Done. How badly am I losing to Force of Will? Pretty badly. So the question is, what am I putting under this Chromox? And that influences what am I casting. So I can go for turn 1 Curse of Misfortune, but that requires me to put Cruel Reality under here, which is kind of my primary win condition. So the Curse would be fetching Curse of Death's Hold and Overwhelming Splendor. Which is probably pretty good. I think I'm supposed to do that because then 1 land means that I can Karn afterwards. It's just weird. YOLO has been declared. Don't force me, don't force me, don't force me, don't force me. Don't do it. Yes! Yes! Nice Astrolabe. That is still going to work under Overwhelming Splendor. But I might shut off some fetch lands. Alright, they still get to activate mana abilities. Yeah, this is a mana ability, it's just filtering. Yeah, so that fetch land does not actually produce mana. I need to be cognizant of playing Urborg. Sure. Oh, nice. They just conceded. Definitely will take that. Now that I know my opponent has Astrolabe, do I want Chalice? Because in the previous game, they just, like, fetched mono non-basic lands. And then in this one, they had a basic for Astrolabe. I don't think that I do. I think all the other cards that I have here are potentially more useful. It's possible that I should do something like cut a Treacherous Blessing for a Plague Engineer or something like that. Just to have a couple more just generic threats. But I don't think I'm going to do that. My opponent mulliganed very quickly. I will keep this hand. Turn 1 Trinosphere is fine. And we potentially have some broken curse starts as well. The second Dark Ritual in his hand kind of sucks, though. Or does it? I am probably supposed to just go Dark Ritual into Trinosphere this turn, and if it doesn't work, I get Karn next turn off the other Dark Ritual. Alright, so now the second Trinosphere is not good. Or sorry, the second Dark Ritual is not good. So I'm thinking about playing City of Traders, and then Chrome Mox put Dark Ritual under it. That gets me to 4 mana next turn for Karn. And would also give me black for Murderous Rider on Oko. It's a real weird line. So whatever I play resolves here. My opponent only has 2 mana. So we pick Karn. I regret playing so quickly. I should have considered just Karn plus on nothing, leave the Karn at higher loyalty, so that land into Hymn to Turok can't spike the liquid metal coating. Alright, there we go. I'm pretty happy with that. That was a 4-1, and I felt like we were pretty unlucky to lose the one that we did lose. So this deck definitely did some powerful things, including a turn 1 kill, which admittedly was a little bit statistically unlikely, but we did assemble it. And I think we had a second turn 1 kill if I didn't bottom a leyline. So I do think some of the things are still questionable in the deck list. I really don't like the Treacherous Blessings. I think those should just be like 3 main deck Plague Engineers, and I don't like the Oppressions in the sideboard. If you lose those 5 cards in the sideboard, I think you free up a lot of other slots to explore other options for what you can do. Dark Ritual, very, very much a good Magic card. Very clearly demonstrated by this this league here. So moving forward, I'm not sure how viable this deck list is going to be, because I think, like, as of today, before tomorrow's bannings take effect, I think, like, Leyline of the Void main deck is something that is very, very good, and that may or may not continue to be true moving forward. Since it does have a secondary element to it, though, in that it's also part of your win condition, it's probably fine. One thing that we did run into today was that if we draw or have to mox one of these 3 cards, the Curse of Misfortunes get a lot worse. So I almost wonder if there should be one more curse in the deck. So that's something else that I would think about. So I would turn, like, as the starting point for the next league, I would turn these into 3 Plague Engineers, and I would consider making the one of Defense Grid, which felt kind of weird, just into another curse. Then for the sideboard, you can free up 5 slots. How much of this is on screen? I need to see what you see. None of it. Okay, so like let's turn this into 2 columns then. So if you move these Plague Engineers to the sideboard, or sorry, to the main deck, you could maybe play the 4th Engineer in the sideboard still, and then free up 4 slots. 2 of these can be things that are dedicated towards combo, and 2 of these things can just be more generic cards. A second Cruel Reality is not necessarily out of the question. Like, that one's the primary win condition of the entire deck, right? So if you lose that one, it's super, super bad. Dystopia was played in another one of the versions of this deck. Something else you can consider is Ill-Gotten Gains. So you can use Ill-Gotten Gains to fish stuff back out of your graveyard, and if you have a ley line, then all of a sudden it's not one-sided anymore. So I know that's something that Cherryman has tried in a few of his different versions of this deck list. So I don't think Ill-Gotten Gains is crazy. And then from there, you kind of need to figure out, like, what is the new combo deck of the format going to be? And I would turn the 2 Oppressions into something that will help hate on them. But we're still a little early on to figure that out, considering that the new format hasn't even technically started yet. Okay, so it's at this point that I want to take any last questions about the Curses deck or suggestions for other things that could go into this deck before I cut the video and start talking about Breach a little bit, so that like people can start thinking about like what does the metagame start looking like as of tomorrow. So does anyone have any questions or comments about the deck list from tonight here? Yeah, you can. No, we just promote the Plague Engineers to the main deck. They're really good. I just think they should be over here. Another thing that wouldn't be totally crazy is like playing another Swamp or 2 in the sideboard for some of the Wasteland matchups, or like a Crucible of Worlds. I'm also not sure about the Nykthos. That was an idea I had because, like, if you ever open up on a double leyline opener, it's really strong. But, like, we had Nykthos for a while, and we didn't actually get to net mana from it. So that might be overly ambitious, even if we do play the Plague Engineers as well. Yeah, I think those are my current thoughts. So Reeple Cheap, thank you very much for the donation once again. This league was super, super fun.